And we're live again. This is Exploring Chiropractic, the podcast for chiropractic and pre-chiropractic students. I'm Nathan Cashin, the host, and joining me today, all the way from Barcelona, Spain, I'm excited to introduce Max Gregor. How are you doing, Max?
I'm doing pretty good, thank you, Nathan.
Thank you so much for getting in touch and wanting to share about your school, Barcelona College of Chiropractic.
Thank you. No, thank you for thank you for letting me do this as well. It looks like it'll be great.
I'm really excited. I pulled out my old Barcelona t-shirt. Is the team in good standing?
No, yeah, well, yeah, it was a bit better 1 or 2 years ago, but it's still doing good, so it's fine.
All right. I don't want to have to take it off in the middle if you're angry at the team or anything.
No.
I'm here in Portland, and we're in the middle of the NBA playoffs, and the Portland Trail Blazers have been doing really well this season, and now they're in I think the semifinals of playoffs, and they're just losing every game by 20 points. So I think a lot of people are kind of upset.
Yeah.
You're in Barcelona, and I didn't know for the longest time that there was a school in Barcelona, and probably for good reason. It's fairly new.
Yeah, well, it's 5 years old right now, so we actually haven't had a graduating class. It's quite exciting right now because our first graduating class is about to graduate in the next month. So that'll be definitely an interesting time for the school and as well for chiropractic in Spain because chiropractic in Spain is also fairly new. So it'll be an interesting. It's a time of huge growth and it's very interesting for chiropractic.
The school started in 2009, and it was kind of a collaboration from a couple of other universities. How did that work?
Well, I think it originally started, and the story that I've heard is it started through just basically 15 chiropractors that sat down together and decided that there needed to be more schools in Europe because there's just a shortage of chiropractors over here in general. I mean, if we look at Spain right now, there's around 250 chiropractors for a population of close to 50 million. So there's definitely a need over here for chiropractors, and that's what I think they were trying to achieve, as well as bringing in some more of the different types of chiropractic because it's quite a philosophically based school as well. So
is it? Okay, that's interesting to hear. I always like to just get a feel kind of on that spectrum, if it's more philosophy or science based. So they do. I did notice on the webpage some photos, and they had one that said something about chiropractic, and it emphasized the tick, and that usually is an indication that they focus a little more on the philosophy.
Well, yeah, I would say they focus pretty heavily on the on all three: the art, the science, and the philosophy. I don't think they tend to polarize the difference between philosophy and science because you can't really have one without the other in a certain way. So I think they encourage you to sort of study the philosophy of science and the science of philosophy in a different kind of way. So it's quite interesting. And the school is also very strong on the arts. It's something that they emphasize from the first year you start palpating. I don't know how it works in your school, but other schools in America, but you get 2.5 years of clinic time, which I think is above the normal amount.
Yeah, it seems that it is. And I noticed on the webpage they mentioned a few times that in the early years there's a lot of observation, that the students are observing chiropractors treating patients. Is that how it works?
Yeah, that's correct. When I was in my first year, I was in the clinic and I observed sort of like your mentor, and when he works in the clinic, and then you have to write down what you see, how you think he could improve, what he could do better, and I did learn quite a lot like that actually because I was observing their interactions and I saw some good things and some bad things. So it helped me out. And then in the second year, you do it again and you do different. It's a form of personal development that prepares you for the clinic. Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. So you're taking chart notes and kind of doing your own history as the doctor is doing it as well.
Yeah, you're just standing in the corner and you have to wear the clinic uniform and you're just standing there and just observing away. Of course, you have to get practice member consent, but yeah.
That's pretty awesome that you start that so early. I think in general that's kind of halfway through the program in the States.
Mm,
There's definitely, you can shadow, you can go into the clinic earlier, but to be that a little more active like that, that's neat that you do it so early.
mm.
The school is also bilingual, and being in Spain,
Yeah.
you're gonna be speaking Spanish, but I get the feeling that there's a lot of international students. Of course, you weren't born in Spain, I don't think.
No, no, yeah. Well, I was born in England and then I moved to Spain when I was 12 and I studied in middle school and high school here. So fortunately, I was fluent in Spanish before I came here and I actually lived in Russia for a while, for a year, and then I lived in America as well for 4 years. I did my undergraduate at Mississippi State. I used to play a lot of tennis, so I did a scholarship thing over there and played for the school, and then I came back here. I was going to actually study chiropractic in the States, and then I came back here for the summer to visit my family, and I ended up staying here instead.
Just wanted to stay. Was it your experience in tennis that led you into chiropractic?
Yes, it was actually. I used to travel. I used to be on the tour, so I was traveling around, and we had, as part of the team, we had to go and see the chiropractor and make sure it was more about prevention with the chiropractor. He was expected to keep us healthy so that we could keep training to our utmost performance. So it's probably a slightly different way that I got into it, but it was also a very nice way for me to get into it as well because I could see from early on stage that chiropractic can do a lot more than just treat the symptoms. It can actually increase your wellness as well. So that was a great point.
That definitely was what
Yeah.
really interested me in chiropractic as well, is getting beyond getting out of pain, but actually getting to where you're functioning better, you're moving better, you're performing in sports at a higher level.
And absolutely, that's one of the main things that I like about it too is that it's in in difference to the medical approach, which is probably slightly more pathogenic. The chiropractic, we have this huge. It can be, but you can also have this huge salutogenic approach as well, which it just asks a whole range of different questions, like what is the origin of health, and it, it attempts to advance us further and further to the health spectrum until that you don't really feel the symptoms and the pain that you get when you're generally holistically more unhealthy.
So how
Yeah.
does it work being a bilingual school then? Are they taught in Spanish or English or both?
Well, the first year, what they do is they put translators in the back of the room. So the translators have their own little box. Yeah, it's pretty funny actually.
There's an
There's
awesome
all,
video on the webpage I was watching this morning. They actually
yeah.
have a sound booth in the back with professional microphones, and do the students have headphones?
Yep, you plug your headphone in. This box is noise isolating. I don't know how they survive in there. There's no oxygen there. I think somebody opened up the door and farted in the first year, and they. That's yeah. Basically, you can plug it in, you tune into your channel, and you listen to them translating live.
That's
The
incredible.
so that gives you a year to learn Spanish. So yeah.
On the website, under their purpose and vision, they have a list of kind of their goals for the students, and one of them is bilingual to, quote, support students linguistically so that they become proficient in the school's two official languages before graduating. So whether you originally speak Spanish or English, by the end you're going to be bilingual.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, once you get into the clinic, if you're English, you better be speaking Spanish, or else you're not going to communicate too well with your
I'd imagine
patients.
so. Most of the
And
patients are local, huh?
yeah, and if you're Spanish, or then most of the textbooks are in English. So yeah, you have to put in the effort for the language. But I think that's a great thing because you do graduate bilingual at the end of the day. So.
What's the student body like? Obviously, you're from England and
Mm.
living all around. I noticed on the video there was a student from Finland and a student from the U.S. And by the way, just go to it's bcchiropractic.es, So it's not .com, that's in the US, it's .es for España, bcchiropractic.es, and go to the homepage and it'll play a video about the school. It's really a well-done video, about 5 minutes long. But I noticed a student from Finland, a student from the US, of course, some from Spain. What's the student body like?
It's a complete mix, actually. It's hugely diverse. I think the thing is that because chiropractic is slightly undeveloped in Spain right now, there's very few students here that are actually Spanish. If there's a lot from, I mean, my roommates here, one was from Sweden, the other one was Italy, the other one's England, and then in my class we've got a huge mix. It's all over Europe, particularly Scandinavian. There's quite a lot of Finnish, a lot of there's a couple from Norway now, Sweden, Estonia, England, of course. There's a load from Italy as well, because there's no chiropractic school in Italy, and there's quite a few American chiropractors that have moved over there because I guess they like Italy, and they keep referring people. So, but yeah, all over, absolutely all over Europe. And there's also quite a few from America. Well, I think 3 or 4 students from America have come.
What do you think it is that draws these international students to Barcelona rather than some of the other schools in Europe? I believe there's another school in, is it Madrid? And then there's a couple in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Why Barcelona?
Well, I think firstly, Barcelona is Barcelona. I mean, it's a great city. I mean, if you come to visit, you'll really like it. You've got the mountains 2-3 hours away. You can go skiing. You can go up for the weekend, ski in the winter, and in summer you've got the Mediterranean right next door, so you can surf. I mean, it really is. I mean, it's constantly voted one of the top 10 tourist cities in the world, so it's got just about everything. So that's obviously an attractive fact. And then you've got also the added bonus that it's bilingual, so that if you have a Swedish student coming down here, I think you would probably be more interested in choosing Barcelona right now, because they do offer the English component as well as the Spanish. So if you're writing your exam, you can choose to write in English or in Spanish, and the questions are placed in both languages, which is obviously a benefit for people from other parts of Europe if they don't speak Spanish.
Yeah, then, it seems that mean, English is so widely spoken. That's a great option for most people. Yeah. But that's a great point. It is Barcelona. I mean, why would you not? My mom was just in Spain. She teaches high school Spanish, and she's taken students on trips traveling to Europe, and this is probably her 15th time or something going to Spain. So it's a beautiful city, and so awesome to see the photos that she sends back.
Yeah.
The school, again, was established kind of a coordination between a couple of other universities in the area. Do you have your own campus and your own buildings?
Yeah. Well, the campus is, it's really in the center. So you're in the middle of Barcelona. It's in Pompeu, Fabra. So we use Pompeu, Fabra's facilities in the university, which means that we're in with those other students, but we have our own floor, our own level, per se. And then we have their library, which is often where the students go to study, which is down on the beach, which is nice, but in the summer you see everybody going past onto the beach, with volleyballs, and you're there studying. It's like, come on. And then we have the clinic, which is up in the mountains. Well, not the mountains, but just slightly above Barcelona. It's still in Barcelona, but it's just a different area.
I don't know my geography too well. Are you near the Pyrenees? Which mountain range is this?
Oh wait, the Pyrenees is where you could go skiing in the winter, yeah. Okay. But there's just little hills around Barcelona as well, where the outpatient clinic is.
Fabulous. I only know about the Pyrenees because I'm a runner and a fan of Kilian Jornet. If you know who he is, he traversed the Pyrenees.
I've heard of him. Long distance.
Incredible. So you use some other facilities, and I was actually quite surprised. A new university practice school, expecting you're putting things together and not be fully developed. But again, the photos and the video online show that the school is really well put together. There's it just looks all the classrooms. You've got all the tables, the equipment, everything that you would expect. So
Yeah.
how long is the program?
Well, the program's 5 years, and you get a master's of chiropractic at the end of it, awarded from the Pompeu Fabra University.
So 5 years,
It's a
and
little bit different from the States, yeah.
it's a little bit. It seems the norm for international. Down in Australia, it's 5 years, and you get the master.
Mhm.
Does that include the undergraduate, or do you have to have prerequisites going into the 5-year program?
No, there are students that can come straight out of high school and go into the curriculum, yeah. You, there are certain prerequisites that you may need. If you don't have them, you can take this prerequisite course right before you start the 5 years, which is a few months, just a couple of months, just to get you updated on the sciences, particularly.
And what's the legal state of chiropractic right now in Spain?
Uh, so, yeah, well, in Spain you have. I'm not sure if this is like this in English, but in English you have legal and illegal. In Spain, in Spanish they've put in another word. So you've got legal, illegal, and illegal. And
Illegal,
illegal, which
meaning it's
I
not against the law, but there's no laws governing it.
basically means that they're sort of turning a blind eye to it right now, and
Okay.
just pretending. I am, yeah. So
It sounds very similar to what's going on in Brazil right now. So in Brazil, there's no licensure. You can practice without a license. Um, but it sounds like there's kind of a bit of a gray zone where you might get in trouble if you're doing things that are out of your scope of practice. Is there an established scope of practice? Is there a chiropractic organization in Spain that guides you?
there's an organization. There's the AEQ, which is the Spanish association here, but there's no defined scope of practice as of yet in Spain. So it is it can be a little bit disturbing in a certain sense because technically anybody can practice chiropractic and you can't stop them. If I wanted to open up a chiropractic clinic, I could technically. So that is a slight problem, and that's why Spain is pushing to get more regulation and laws. But once again, it's something that is very new here, and it is something that the public is very interested in. So I think that will come as more and more people and chiropractors grow in the region.
There's an article that I got that I believe had to do with the World Congress for Chiropractic Students, which we'll talk about in a moment. But I think the title is La Quiropráctica se reivindica. My Spanish is really rusty. I always want to pronounce it in Portuguese, which I think is chiropractic revindicated, or I've lost the translation here. I had it translated, reclaimed. And it's a discussion of the president of the Spanish Chiropractic Association, the AEQ, talking about the need for regulation, that it protects the chiropractor as well as the patients. Is regulation a positive thing, or is there benefit to having that freedom to practice however you want?
There's definitely a benefit to having the freedom. Well, this is again my opinion, but for example, I know it can make it a lot easier just to come over here and get set up and started, and but then of course there's a flip side to the coin, and that means that anybody can do that. And I do know a couple of people who practice in this area who give adjustments, and they're not chiropractors, and they didn't do the course, and they don't, and they're, at the end of the day, they're putting the patients and their practice members at harm's risk, you know. So that's definitely the downside as well.
Yeah. You also are involved in the WCCS, which we've mentioned on the show in previous episodes. And recently there was the annual meeting in Malaga, Spain. How did that go?
That was an experience and a half. Well, I originally became member of the World Chiropractic Congress of Students in I think it was 2012 in Australia a couple of years ago. So we flew over to Australia. We spent the week there talking about chiropractic. It was just a mind-blowing experience because you're with all these passionate chiropractic students that really get what chiropractic is about and really want the best for it. So it really changed my view on chiropractic. And one of the things that happened in Australia was that we put in a bid to host the Congress this year in Malaga. So that was a couple of years ago. Then in between that, we also went to Durban and went to the WFC, and also the Chiropractic Congress was there. And then this year we finally hosted it in Malaga, and it was a big event. It was a great turnout. We had 138 students at the end from all around the world, about 22 or more different schools as well. So it was a fantastic event. It's a great way to, if any new students are wanting to get more involved in chiropractic and see the different ideas and that people have and the different places that people come from, that's one of the best things you can do, without a doubt.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do. I hadn't known about the WCCS before. So it's great to hear that students from all the schools are getting together and talking about what they share in common. Just glancing at the WCCS page, it looks about maybe half of the schools in the U.S. are members, and you have to apply to get your school to be a member of the organization. Is that correct?
That's right. So when you apply, the US, yeah, you apply, you pay a membership fee. It's about $1,000 a year for the schools, and then from there, then you have to raise the money to get your students to the annual congresses. So, but yeah.
What is that fundraising like? Actually, this week I'm headed to Miami for a conference. I got a scholarship for the attendance fee, but to fly there, it's so expensive. And you're talking about going to Durban, going to Australia. How do you raise these funds?
Well, it's actually much easier than you think, because what you've got to remember is that chiropractors are hugely invested in giving back to their profession, as far as I can see. So they really want the best for the profession, and they realize that the younger generations that are coming up and they're motivated to do these things, then they really want to back you. So as far as I can see, it's not been that difficult for us. For example, Australia, we sent 5 people to Australia, which is quite a chunk of money if you consider that you have to pay the inscription fee as well. But we managed to raise about $9,000, $10,000 that year. I mean, a lot of it was just through speeches. We did some speeches to local chiropractors and in conventions, and it worked out well like that. Did a couple of fundraising barbecues.
Yeah, it sounds like you're really reaching out and coming up with great ideas. I hadn't thought of going to chiropractors directly. I'm using an online crowdsourcing campaign, which is very common from the other students here in the States that go to, adjusting seminars and SACA, which is the American Chiropractic Association. But that's great that chiropractors are willing to contribute back and help the students progress.
Yeah, it is.
It looks like the WCCS has already planned their annual meeting for next year, and that's going to be in the States.
Yeah. That's going to be a great conference. Obviously, it's in Life University. It's the guy hosting it is Mike Hollerback. He's a good friend of mine. So,
yeah, he was going to be on the show a couple months back, but I think something came up for him, and I'm trying to remember. Was it Mike or I think Mike had to cancel at the last minute, so we had Dan Atkin on from Life. So he's involved in WCCS as well.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, last summer I was in the US. I went over there. I really wanted to do some of the chiropractic seminars that you guys have over there. So, and I went to Atlanta and I stayed with Mike for a good few days, and he showed me around the university. So that was a good experience.
What did
Yeah.
you think of Life University? It sounds like a gorgeous campus.
Oh, it's a great campus. The campus you can't compare much to the campus. I mean, it's got that space. It's out in the country, so they can really play around with things over there. Which obviously in here is you can't do that as much because you're in the center of the city. So
If students want to attend WCCS coming up in Atlanta in 2015, where do they start if their school is not a member?
okay, so the first thing they need to do is they need to contact the WCCS. I think the best way for them to do that is to contact one of the board members, which is if you go onto the web, you can see that on the website. You'll see board members, and you'll see the contacts. You've got the emails there, and then from there we'll go ahead and we'll send you different information and files and documents, and we'll get that out to you. Often what we do as well with new schools is that we set up a mentoring committee as well, a mentorship program. So we get one school to help out the other school actively, and they'll show them how they've done it and the details about it all. Right now, we're trying to do that with the Swiss school. And
That's awesome. I contacted, I don't remember who it was now. It looks like you're one of the board members, vice president.
yeah,
And I got the information that there's a presentation that you have to do at one of the annual meetings before your school is officially accepted. What does that entail?
yeah. Well, I think that's more so that when you go to the Congress, you need to be voted in as well. So this presentation is to give a little bit of background from the school, what the program is, what you study, what it entails, a little bit about the clinic, and that's just for the other members of the Congress to get a little bit of an idea about the school, so they can decide whether they would like them to be a part of this or not.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing more about the WCCS. It sounds like a great group of people to be involved with, and I'm glad they're coming a little closer next year. Maybe I'll be able to join in.
Why don't you join for Western?
Like I said, I tried to get that rolling. The student body is notoriously hard to get things off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking into it. I'm working on it. We need to get in touch with the ASB president at my school. Let's begin to wrap it up. This has been really cool chatting with you. I ask everyone to be pretty honest and tell me if there's one thing you could change about the Barcelona College of Chiropractic, what would that be?
If there's one thing I could change, I'd say the organization right now, because it's still a young school and we've got timetables flying around a little bit. Things haven't fully set in right now, so there is a schedule, but things are still mobile. So that's what I would change. Yeah.
So still getting established.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our tick picks. You've got a great pick to share with the students, something looking towards the future.
Yeah, so I guess my tick pick is the IAF report, which is the 2025 report. I'm not sure if you've got it over there.
Yeah, I'll pull it up right now on the screen if you're watching the video. So this is an Institute for Alternative Futures, and they look at the future, what the future holds for chiropractic. What did you gain from this?
Well, it's just this is a report done by the futurists, and it's the same futurists that have done many of the Fortune 500 companies, and they've dedicated a lot of time to this, and they've predicted the different scenarios and paths that chiropractic can take, and as a profession, what we need to be able to do and where we should go basically. And it's a very interesting read, as much for students as for chiropractors as for prospective students who are thinking about coming into the profession.
And it addresses something that's mentioned a lot, is this infighting within chiropractic of the philosophy versus the science. And it looks like they come up with 4 scenarios for the future, where they kind of move along that spectrum, that continuum of, okay, what's it going to look like if we go the vitalistic route and we kind of shun the medical paradigm, or what would it be like if we try to join up with the medical paradigm and progress chiropractic in that way, and then a couple of options in between. And it's quite a long document. It's about 80 or so pages with references, and there's a lot of references. I myself have not read through this, but I've downloaded it and kind of glanced. So really interesting to look forward to what chiropractic might be like in 2025. What is your feeling? How is chiropractic going to progress?
I mean, it's a tough call. If I knew that, I'd be. But in this report, I definitely hope it wouldn't be scenario 1 or 2, which looks a little bit more dismal. But I would really like, for me personally, I think I value the whole vitalistic aspect that chiropractic can bring to the healthcare. So for me, I hope scenario 4, and I think scenario 3 and 4 would be the most likely, from what I remember reading in that report.
Awesome. Well, speaking of kind of the science versus philosophy, my tick pick, maybe not directly related to that idea, but is a new TV show, fairly new, that's come out, and I'm not sure if you've heard of this. It's called Cosmos, and back in the 70s, this was a TV show that kind of popularized science on a public broadcasting station, but now it's come out and it's on cable channels, it's on prime time here in the States, and it's being broadcast across the world via National Geographic channel. So I think it's in 100-something countries in 40 different languages. It's hosted by an astrophysicist named Neil deGrasse Tyson, and the reason I'm picking this is because Neil deGrasse Tyson met the original host of Cosmos, Carl Sagan, who's a well-known scientist, and Neil deGrasse Tyson was looking to go into a field for astrophysics, trying to choose his school, whether it was Cornell or Harvard, or he was a very intelligent high school student. And Carl Sagan invited him to the campus to decide whether that school was the right one for him. And in the first episode of Cosmos, Neil deGrasse Tyson tells this story, and it really struck a chord with me because it's what I'm trying to get across with exploring chiropractic. Yeah. Is that there isn't a school, the best chiropractic school out there, but that it's what school is right for each student. And I recently got a message from a previous guest on the show who transferred from University of Western States to Life West, and she mentioned to me, there really isn't a great school. There are things that I didn't like about Western States, and now I'm at Life West, and there's things that I'm not really excited about here, although there's things that I love about both. So I think that story of Neil going and having this popular man, this incredible scientist, and this TV show host later on, bring him to the school and say, hey, this is what we do, decide whether it's right for you, was really empowering to him. And he actually didn't choose Cornell. He didn't choose the school that Carl Sagan was taking him to and visiting. He chose Harvard for his undergraduate. So really it's all about what's the best school for you, and I think you did a great job sharing Barcelona on this episode, and I'm so glad that you contacted me and shared this.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I really appreciate what you're doing here as well with this whole transparency on the school thing. It seems really a useful project.
Yeah, I really hope so. And for those listening to the podcast afterwards, I am kind of branching out because there's so many things in chiropractic that I'm excited about that don't directly relate to the schools. And so I've started interviewing chiropractors and even a medical doctor and talking with students about stuff other than their school. So those are going to be some special episodes coming out in the feed later on. In fact, a couple of them may have come out before this episode does. I'm trying to organize the order of these things. But Max, Gregor, thank you so much. Thank you for talking about Barcelona. Thank you for talking about WCCS and sharing everything about chiropractic throughout the world.
Thank you very much.
All right, I think we're gonna just keep this recording for a bit. If there's anything else you want to talk about,
Sure. Yeah.
how it goes. I can always edit it out later.
No, it's fine. What about your school?
What about my school? Oh, we're gonna talk about my school soon. I didn't want to start with Western States just because it's my school. I wanted to avoid any narcissism. And so I started with Logan and then Life West, and then I was going to do Western States, but that's when other students started contacting me and saying, hey, I want to talk about life in Georgia. I want to talk about the schools in Australia. And it's been so awesome to hear from students all across the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I remember too that it was quite a few students told me to get in contact with you as well about that. So.
Oh, is that right? Now,
It's word of mouth, I guess.
Yeah, it's slowly starting to trickle out there. I think I got lucky because the host of Spinal Column Radio kind of caught my show in the first episode. Are you familiar with Spinal Column Radio?
No, I'm not actually.
Okay, that's interesting. You're probably the first person that I've had on the show that isn't. It's a podcast.
Oh, Spartacle. Okay, yes, sorry.
No, Spinal Column Radio, SCR, which is there's a chiropractor up in Seattle, Washington area, and he's had a podcast for years and years about philosophy-based chiropractic. He's stopped producing episodes now, but there's 170 something episodes that you can go, and I think you'd really enjoy it.
Check that out.
Dr. Thomas Lamar, and I think I owe a lot to him. I think half of the people I've talked to have been because of him. So, yeah. So, the school sounds so interesting in Barcelona. I'd love to be able to get out there sometime.
Yeah, I mean, you should come over and take a visit. Why not?
What's the student body like? How many students are there?
So there's about 120 to 130 students right now. Yeah, each year seems to be progressively bigger. So in my year, we're 27 students in the whole year, which is great because we have a small class, and then say there's 27 students, then that will get halved when you come into practical class. So if you're 27 students, you'll be 12, maybe like 13 students and 13 students when it comes to practical class, and there's often 2 teachers. So you can often be, 6 people to a teacher, so it's very individualized when you learn the techniques and stuff as well. So that's a great plus for the school, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing. I chose to start the program during the winter, during January. At my school, there's 2 starts, September and January. And the only difference is the size of the class. And I think there's a lot of benefit to having that smaller class size. I think my class right now is about 45 students.
Okay, because you do you do the quarter system?
We do quarters, yeah.
Okay, yeah. We do the semesters here, so.
Oh, you're in semesters, okay.
Yeah, we do one semester, and then we're just coming up to finals right now. So once we do these exams over the next weeks, we're finished with those, and then we get nearly 3 months holiday for the summer.
3 months, wow.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, it's a good chunk. So you can use that time to go learn more about chiropractic or do seminars or whatever you want to do.
what do you have planned for this coming up break?
I got, I guess from exams you get all sorts of crazy ideas about after being chained to your desk for a certain while, you start to have images of roaming to different places, and but I definitely want to do some seminars. I'd like to try some. I know there's several coming up in Europe, a couple of Gonstead ones, and yeah, so I'll do that and see if I can travel a bit around Europe because it's very easy to do as well. So hopefully I'll be able to do those. Actually,
That's one of the benefits of Europe is being able to hit so many countries.
absolutely. I was planning on taking a bike and just cycling through.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be an interesting time. But that's another thing about the school that I forgot to mention is that you do quite a few different techniques. So the second year you learn diversified, the third year you learn Gonstead, the fourth year you learn SOT and Thompson, and the fifth year you do, I think it's upper cervical.
Mm.
It's a good one.
So when is the first adjusting class?
Second year, diversified. First year is just palpation.
Mm-hmm.
Just hands-on, feeling,
Right.
touching people, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always fun to practice your communication with patients. And we're always joking in adjusting and palpation labs, how you don't want to say, okay, I'm coming in, or okay, I'm going to touch you now. No, you can't say that. You can't really say palpate because most patients don't know what that means.
Yeah, it's true. You forget. Yeah. So.
What do you say in Spanish? What are the words? Tocar?
Palpar. Palpar.
Okay. Is that a more common term in Spanish than palpate in English?
I guess so. Yeah. Yeah, because palpate in English is not that common, is it? So.
No.
No.
I mean, medical doctors kind of use it,
Okay.
but I think the general public has no idea what it means.
Yeah, so I think it's a little bit more common in Spain, but I guess you'd use tocar if not. Yeah.
That's
But
cool.
again, it's one of those things that you have to be careful with your words in clinics.
Yeah. And it's always awkward because you're practicing with other students who just did it, said the same thing to you 40 seconds ago. And so
Yeah.
you're explaining a procedure and they're just like, yeah, I know. But you've got to practice that. Do you guys find ways to get around that awkwardness?
Oh, absolutely not. No, we just.
It's just part of it, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know about you guys as well, but in our first year, we all had to be practically in shorts or underwear or whatever it is. So you as well. So that was the first bit of awkwardness you have as a class, but I guess you get used to it after a while. So.
Yeah, and just wearing the gowns.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's fun. All right. Well, I think we'll end this recording. I'm not sure what else to talk about. So thanks people for watching live.